Seann William Scott is best known for playing the wisecracking party boy Steve Stifler. But off-screen, his life has been anything but a fun time. From getting robbed to losing several family members, the American Pie star is no stranger to tragedy. Not everyone achieves instant stardom upon moving to Los Angeles. This sentiment certainly rang true for Seann William Scott, who arrived in Los Angeles after attending the University of Wisconsin and Community College in Glendale, California. During those early years of trying to make it in the industry, the Minnesota-born actor landed a handful of smaller parts, including an appearance in a Sunny Delight commercial. For his first 3 years in LA, Scott balanced his time between auditions and part-time retail work. While going on auditions and strengthening his acting chops, Scott simultaneously worked a slew of non-entertainment jobs, including as a host at California Pizza Kitchen. Scott spoke about his eventual big break on The Howard Stern Show.
Then I got the script for American Pie, and I was like, the Stifler part was like 2 scenes long, and I just knew I needed to get a part.
In an effort to ensure success, Scott emulated a Stifler-like bully from his own high school days during the audition. He ended up landing the part, and his life was never the same after. When Scott was starting out in LA and trying to land that breakout role that every actor dreams of, he had the coveted opportunity to audition for Baywatch. Seeing as he was living in Glendale at the time, Scott had to take public transport to the audition. However, disaster struck when he accidentally got off in a not-so-great neighborhood. Scott was robbed of his shirt, shoes, and all the money he had on him, $1.35 to get back home. He spoke of the experience on the Rich Eisen show.
You know, I think it was less about what I was wearing and the clothes they wanted, and more about like messing with me.
To make matters even worse, Scott had no choice but to ask people at the Baywatch audition for fare to get back to Glendale.
And I remember getting home, I was like, acting sucks, man. It's so hard. Wow.
Before its official release, there was no way to predict just how big of a pop culture phenomenon American Pie would become. Produced on a budget of $11 million, the inaugural film raked in over $100 million domestically and $235 million worldwide at the box office, finally giving Scott the career break he was working so hard toward. But the big bucks didn't flow in right away for the film's stars. In fact, Scott was only paid $8,000 for his work as Stifler in the first American Pie. Though as someone semi-new to the industry, it felt like quite a hefty paycheck at the time. Plus, Scott doesn't have as much screen time as some of the other cast members of the film, which equated to the low pay. He told People magazine, "I think I only worked in the movie for 6 days. I was only supposed to be in a couple scenes, so they just kept letting me improvise because I just wanted to get myself in as much of the movie as possible." Still, the $8,000 helped him avoid having to take public transportation and endure more potential thefts for future auditions.
I bought a used Thunderbird for like $5,000. No, I'm saying like maybe 6. I'm like, oh yeah, baby.
Once filming wrapped on American Pie, Scott continued working odd jobs in order to keep a steady income. The movie had yet to be released in theaters, and even when it did make its debut, there was no guarantee that it would be a money-making hit or lead to future opportunities. Scott spoke of his job prospects at that time in an interview with Conan O'Brien.
I was hopeful. I was like, I think this movie's gonna be great. I don't know if it's gonna get me another movie. So I had to get a job.
It was at this time that one of Scott's friends, an employee at the Los Angeles Zoo, told him how much fun it was to work there and feed the animals. Scott was quickly hired at the zoo, but much to his dismay, the experience didn't involve furry friends. Rather, he was a resident churro guy, in charge of making the doughy treats for guests. During his second day on the job, Scott was interviewed by Rolling Stone for American Pie, and that's what he had going on at the moment. Scott shared his new churro gig with the interviewer, who mistakenly thought it was a role in the new movie.
And he goes, "That's interesting. When does that come out?"
Luckily, American Pie was an instant box office sensation, and Scott didn't have to whip up churros for too long. After years of failed auditions and countless odd jobs to make ends meet, Scott finally achieved success as an actor when American Pie hit theaters and audiences fell in love with the inappropriate antics of Stifler. Still, gaining mass popularity came with some setbacks, a major one being typecast as a high school jock who was always partying. In 2000, Scott was up for the role of Billy Hitchcock in Final Destination. However, director James Wong, who had just seen American Pie, was hesitant about casting him. Wong told Yahoo Entertainment, "Billy, this kind of dorky guy. He's not written as handsome as Seann William Scott, so it took a little bit of convincing. But then we met with him and talked with him, and he does have a goofy quality to him, even though he has these leading man looks." Reflecting on landing the role of Billy, Scott told Yahoo Entertainment that he was just himself during his meeting with Wong, which is a stark contrast from Stifler.
He's good. He's good. He's a dork. Definitely a dork. You're hired, buddy.
Following the unprecedented success of American Pie, Scott never had to hand out churros again. In addition to reprising Stifler in American Pie 2, American Wedding, and American Reunion, Scott was part of several other hit flicks. These hit films included Dude, Where's My Car?, Goon, and The Rundown. Still, his career has also been fraught with flops, making it difficult to separate himself from the Stifler persona that the world came to associate with him. For example, his dive into the world of action comedies with 2003's Bulletproof Monk, which sees Scott's character partner up with a monk to save the world, didn't go over well with audiences. Then there was the 2019 horror crime film Bloodline, in which Scott plays a father and social worker who is plagued by memories of the abuse he suffered as a kid. The Los Angeles Times wrote in its review, "As a stressed-out high school guidance counselor who helps his students by murdering their abusive relatives, Scott walks a fine line between sympathetic and sinister in a film that never really finds its purpose." Given Stifler's over-the-top personality and wild ways, many have assumed over the years that Scott is at least somewhat similar to his on-screen persona. However, in an interview with NBC Philadelphia, he revealed that he's nothing like Stifler in real life. He told the outlet, "I am not like Stifler at all, and was never a partier or a girl chaser. I'm a quiet, introspective guy, but that's why it's fun to play that wild character." Even when fame finally hit and Scott began getting attention from droves of female fans, he stayed true to himself. The actor told news.com.au, "I was never really able to take advantage of being an actor because I was always too shy to talk to girls." Prior to the release of 2011's Goon, which saw Seann William Scott play bouncer-turned-hockey player Doug Glatt, the actor's entire world was turned upside down. Within a 2-year span, he lost not only his father, but also 5 other family members. A self-described positive and optimistic person, Scott was anything but either of these after experiencing so many losses in such a short time. In fact, he questioned whether or not he'd ever feel joy again. At first, Scott thought he could handle things on his own. He spoke about his state of mind at the time on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum.
I always thought, like, I don't need to talk to anybody because I know I'm sad. Like, what am I going to just repeat what I know?
He eventually realized that he was far from okay, however, and that he needed to speak to a professional. This decision turned out to be extremely beneficial.
I remember the first meeting with the grief counselor. It was like, I was healing just that one meeting.
For Scott, it was helpful to share his feelings with an individual who had a completely unbiased perspective on his life. Now he serves as an advocate for therapy, as he understands firsthand the benefits and also why someone might feel shame or hesitancy before booking that first appointment. He's helping others realize that sometimes they don't have to cope with anything on their own. In March 2011, it was announced that Scott spent 30 days in a treatment facility. No specific reason for his month-long stay was provided by either the actor or his representatives, the latter of whom said in an official statement, "Seann William Scott has voluntarily admitted himself for proactive treatment to address health and personal issues. He appreciates the support of his many fans at this time." Upon completing the 30-day stint, Scott, who was 34 at the time, was all smiles at a Knicks game in New York City. His first public appearance post-treatment, his reps told TMZ, he completed the 30 days successfully. He's doing great. After completion, he geared up a month later to reprise his role of Stifler in American Reunion, which hit theaters in 2012. While it's possible that Scott's treatment was related to his grief counseling, given the timing of everything, Scott has remained quiet on the subject. No matter the reason, it seems as though Scott came out on the other side stronger and happier, which perfectly coincided with Stifler's character growth in the 4th and final American Pie installment. In the film, a deeper, more vulnerable side of Stifler is shown, with his friends learning that, underneath the tough exterior, he doesn't actually always feel like the life of the party. As a naturally quiet and introverted guy, Scott has never tried to make headlines regarding his dating life. In 2012, it was known that he was engaged to Victoria's Secret model Lindsay Frimott, but most details about the relationship, which ended in January 2013, were kept under wraps. He maintains the same privacy in 2019, when the actor told Us Weekly that he was seeing somebody, but declined to share who. In September of that year, a source told Us Weekly that Scott tied the knot with this mystery girl in a private ceremony. It was revealed soon after that Scott's new bride was Olivia Korenberg, an interior designer. However, the two separated in October 2023, with Scott filing for divorce in February 2024 because of irreconcilable differences. He also sought joint custody of their daughter, Frankie Rose, whom they welcomed into the world in June 2020.